Hello everyone, this is Anthony Carpen at the Rock Road Library Gardens here in Cambridge in Queen Edith's ward, which is my childhood neighbourhood. I'm attempting again at doing some video blogging because that seems to be the direction the world seems to be moving in, away from text and more into something that's visual and audible, and it's taken some time to actually just get used to the concept of speaking into a camera when there is nobody else about, well, apart from the neighbours doing the lawn and the pesky little microlight flying sewing machines that just annoy the hell out of me. We've just had the general election in Cambridge and we've got Daniel Zeichner MP, who's been elected, taking the place of Dr. Julian Huppert by a margin of about 599 votes, if I recall correctly. We've also in this ward got Heidi Allen, Member of Parliament for the Conservatives, who got over 50% of the votes, and then two wards that way we've got Fulbourn, which is in South East Cambridgeshire, where we've got Lucy Fraser as the Member of Parliament. So kind of within walking distance, or certainly within cycling distance of where I'm sitting, we've got three parliamentary constituencies. One of the things I really want to talk about is getting more people involved in the future of our city, because I've been going to a number of local council meetings and kind of local democracy meetings, and I've always thought to myself, we can do so much better in terms of how we get more people involved from a more diverse range of backgrounds, not in terms of you've got to tick the box for that group of people or tick the box for this group of people, but it's actually diversity of experiences that inevitably comes with getting people from different backgrounds who have different life experiences, because one of the things I've often found when you go out and about, and I've found this both in the civil service and also what I do as a community activist, is that you often find some of the things that you are just blissfully unaware of are actually really big issues for other parts of the city, other parts of the population. One of the biggest things, for example, being a male, until I was regularly active on Twitter and started reading the tweets of, in particular, the Everyday Sexism project, I had no idea of the scale of institutionalized sexism and just aggression on the streets that women had to put up with. And so it's not surprising now that we're now seeing, thanks to the bravery of a number of people, in particular those at the Everyday Sexism project, to start speaking out about this and actually put pressure on the politicians and our institutions to say, look, this isn't good enough, we expect better. And it's great to see in Cambridge, if you look at the link below, some of the things that are happening there to actually make, for example, nightlife in Cambridge a lot safer than it is. Because I remember when I was growing up here, in particular between the ages of 16 to 18, actually I was really, really scared of going out at night. I couldn't actually say to my mates, actually, I was really, really scared and really, really anxious. And what I didn't know at the time was that this was kind of the rumblings of what later became my diagnosis with a general anxiety disorder. But, we didn't have the internet at the time. It was kind of a couple of years before that big, the big internet boom of the very late 90s. And so there are times where I'd just absolutely hide away, or there'd be times, where you'd go to a nightclub or something like that and you couldn't have a really good time because you were just constantly on edge for, watching out for your mates or just watching out for yourself, lest you come across someone who you used to go to school with who turned into a really nasty piece of work, threatened to, beat up everyone. Fortunately, I was never on the receiving end of it myself, but people who were close to me at the time were, and stuff like that really, really poisons the atmosphere for for so many. And I remember going to a talk about this at the Friends Meeting House with the Cambridge Humanists, and the speaker there said, it only, we underestimate just how much our societies are based on trust, and it only takes a small number of people to disrupt entire communities and to to break down that trust to the detriment of of everyone. But then on the flip side, and one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing now is to see if we as a city can actually come together and do something constructive about the issues that we face, rather than just sitting back and complaining about it, or finding where each of our individual niches are in terms of in terms of improving our city. So one of the things that's happening at the moment is the Cambridge City deal, and I'm one of those few sad members of the public who actually goes along to these meetings and tries to keep tabs on what's going on, because over the next 10 years a huge amount of money from the public sector is being devolved from Whitehall, where I used to work, down to a city level, and we're talking potentially up to £1 billion, certainly up to the year 2030, which is a huge amount of money. And one of the things that we need to get right for Cambridge is we need to ensure that we've got the infrastructure in place to deal with the growth that inevitably comes with being a city that has such a global reputation. I mean, I've often felt that as Cambridge as a city, we are a city with the infrastructure of a large market town, but with the reputation of, a global city. And the two don't reconcile. And so, how do we deal with this? Well, this is potentially one of the routes. Another one is a unitary authority. But when you talk about things like a unitary authority, well, what does that mean to most people? I mean, most people have got better things to do, or more interesting things to do, than scrutinise the inner workings of public administration. It just so happened that my old policy place in Whitehall at the Department for Communities and Local Government in part had to deal with local government reform, and those were those days in London were very much work hard, play hard. And I think in particular in sustainable housing policy, I must have aged about 10 years in the space of 10 months. I wouldn't have nearly as many grey hairs or nearly as many ties around my belly as as I currently have, as a result of just burning the candle at both ends. And ultimately I burnt out, which is one of the reasons why even today I can't work full-time hours, because I'm still suffering from the impact of of that mental exhaustion and my ultimately inability to deal with the mental health problems that I've had really for the past 15-20 years.